From across the comic book community multiverse, the Comic-Con podcast begins now with your hosts, Justin, aka Nemesis Prime.
If you give them the title of influencer, then that's giving them more power, right? That's how it is. Like, I'm a nobody. Listen, I'm a nobody.
Zach, aka the Manimal.
We talked about it for a full, I believe, 7 to 8 minutes on an hour-long normal podcast for a show. And you would have thought we set their house on fire with the backlash. So, welcome back, everyone. The Comic-Con Podcast, Season 3, Episode 23. If you thought you were listening to the Joe Rogan Experience, you were wrong. You were with the number one podcast in the nation, in the world, the Comic-Con Podcast, with the two greatest hosts of all time, myself, the Manimal, and Nemesis Prime. What's up, Justin?
What's going on? Oh, sorry. I'm oh, geez. Canadian wildfires are just getting me. Stupid Canadians and their crazy fires. It's like a blanket of smoke here in New Jersey and all across the East Coast. So damn you, Canada.
You can't see Justin right now. Obviously, this is a podcast format, but I am. And he's got a full hazmat suit on and like an oxygen tank. And this is all because of, you know what, dude? I somewhat blame you for this because you befriended all these Canadians, right? Like I don't think I really knew any Canadians prior to like the podcast. And then you kind of brought, Newbie, Black Crown, Kamikaze, all these Canadians into our world. And now they're polluting our world. I think something's up here, man. Sabotage, I think.
Yeah, I think the borders are gonna close for a while, I'd say.
And you thought the southern border was the concern, and everyone wasn't paying attention to the northern border and all their pollution. So, but anyway, how is the air quality out there today?
So today's better than the past 2 days. It was wild because it's like I went to my parents' house on Tuesday, and it was fine when I got there. And then all of a sudden, like I walked out to my car, and I was like, I smelled something. I was like, something must be burning in the town. And it wasn't the haze yet. It was just the smell. And then, my mom was checking the news. She's like, oh, there's a fire in like 3 or 4 towns over. And she's like, oh, maybe it's the Canadian thing. And I'm like, all right. So I drove through when I was driving home, instead of driving on the highway to get home, I went through the long route and I went through towns, and you could just smell it in every town. Right. And I'm just like, damn. And like my wife was complaining about like the smell. Luckily it's not inside the house, but then yesterday I was in my office and there was actually like a haze, like a light haze in my office that you could see through like the lights, and the smell was in my office. So they actually let us go, or I kind of just decided to leave. I was like, I'm not going to kill myself in the office. Like I'd rather be,
So for some clarification, we're recording this on Thursday, June 8th. You're listening to it on the 9th. Maybe, hopefully, and that was yesterday, right? The 7th when that happened on Wednesday?
Yeah, the 7th was like the main day, but like New York was pretty bad. And like that's what it is. You've seen, the pictures in New York and New Jersey, and then of course, like I posted on our stories, and people were saying even like down in Maryland it was bad, and Delaware, and PA, and obviously even like we're in group chats, and like Ryan Darkside Jedi said same thing. In like Michigan it was really bad. So
yeah, that's crazy.
It's wild.
It was funny, like all the pictures that everyone's posted. Like you posted some Dune pictures. There's also like Blade Runner, and like Tatooine.
Godzilla's in the background with the red sun.
That's crazy.
Mad Max was pretty good driving down the highway. It was like Mad Max Fury Road. Nice.
So yeah, I mean, well, hopefully it'll clear up. You said it's already a little bit better today. Hopefully tomorrow, and hopefully the wildfires get under control. I mean, some scary stuff up there, man. So I hope everyone's safe. Hope everyone's staying safe, both health wise and fire wise. So
I heard it started close to Newbie Comics. So not saying he started it, but I heard it's close to
he's doing probably rubbing together 2 Iron Man comics or something that started a fire. But anyway, let's get into the show. We got some fun stuff today we're going to talk about. Justin's going to give us a little recap about Philly Fan Expo. We got a community question that's going to kind of ties into Philly Fan Expo a little bit, so we'll move into that. And then we got some comic book news, some TV movie news, and just some fun stuff. So hit it off, Justin. Tell us, how was Philly Fan Expo?
Yes, so the Philly Fan Expo is definitely different than a Comic-Con. So if you're anywhere near an event that says Comic-Con and you're near an event that says Fan Expo, it is completely 2 different things. I'll tell you that right now. Fan Expo is fans of everything, right? There's comics, there's anime, there's video games, there's celebrities, there's art prints, there is an artist alley, there's people selling all different types of tchotchkes, lightsabers, swords, the whole everything, you name it, Funko Pops. When you obviously go to a Comic-Con, like a real Comic-Con, there's all that, but there's more on the comic book side, like
Yeah.
a comic book show. So it was at the Philly Convention Center, which it's a really nice venue. It's, one big massive floor. The artist alley was nice. The celebrity section, they had some really top-notch art, celebrities, voice actors, actresses, stuff like that, cosplayers. Comic book wise, man, there was literally maybe 7 or 8 vendors, and I know 6 of them on like
Oh, wow.
a regular basis that literally set up at shows here in New Jersey and in New York. So it's like kind of annoying because like they didn't really have anything new for me to like dig
Gotcha.
through, right? It's kind of like, oh, well, I've already seen you maybe like last month. Like I think one guy was set up at one of the guys was set up at King Kong like literally 2 months ago, but he's always set up at these big shows here in New Jersey and New York. So it's like there's no difference. Like I see him, I'm like, hey, what's going on? Whatever. Another guy, same thing. He's more of like a local guy. But then when you get into, they actually had some like Zenoscope was there.
Oh, that's
East
cool.
Side Comics was there. Who, they're kind of like the other side of like KRS Comics. So they had their exclusives, like just like KRS does their comics. Our buddies from Capture Collectibles was there. They were doing the CGC facilitating. CBCS was there. And then just like other things, right? Like there's the video game side, there's the anime side, which, it's great if you're a fan of everything, but then you're spending money on everything, right? Like if you're really
Right.
there for comics, like to be honest, like it was crazy. I spent no money on comics there. I went there with the intention of getting a signature from Katie Sackhoff, who plays Bo-Katan and voices Bo-Katan, of course, in Star Wars and Mandalorian. And then the other thing was Peter Cullen was going to be there, voice of Optimus Prime. And I'm like, I need his signature. I need to meet this man because it's probably the last time I'll get to meet him. I've never been to like a Transformers con that's called TIFF-Con, and I've never been anywhere else that he's been close by. So I was like, yeah, I'm cracking my Transformers 1. So that was my main goal, just 2 signatures and then whatever I wanted to do, right? So luckily it took me about an hour. I waited in line for an hour for Katie, super long line. Very quick, very nice. She was definitely awesome. I got her to sign. I cracked open a sketch cover that I had Livio, of course, our buddy Livio Ramondelli do. He did that for me last year at WonderCon.
That was
like
cool.
I said,
he reposted that too of yours. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was really dope. Yeah. And I was talking to him in DMs about it. It was, really awesome. So there was that. And then, of course, Peter Cullen, waited a little bit in line for him for Transformers #1. And it was a CGC 9.6. I can't remember if I bought it slabbed or if I bought it raw and just slabbed it. So I cracked it myself. I then had Peter sign it, had a great, quick conversation with him. He was a super nice guy as well. And then I actually had it, I'm going to have it pressed and then, slabbed up because I just,
you never had it pressed before, right? So there's a chance it could go 9.8, right?
Yeah, there's a chance it could go 9.8. I mean, at worst, it stays in 9.6, which I'm fine. To be honest, again, even in 9.4, it's a signature that
right
will stay with me, right? It's I could always buy like a CGC 9.6 or 9.8 if I really need like a blue label copy. So,
but man, fingers crossed out there. Everyone put good energy that his 9.6 comes back and sign 9.8. Hell yeah, dude, that'd be awesome.
And then last but not least, I didn't get to meet the person, but I did drop off a book to get signed was Hayden Christensen.
Oh.
So I did have a Darth Vader, one of the black, white, and red variants, a virgin cover of Vader on the front. So I had that signed and sent off with Captured Collectibles to CGC. So
cool. Shout out to Monty, right?
Yeah. Monty, Jay, Monica, the team over there are just awesome. So it's really awesome. There's so many celebrities, right? There was the whole Back to the Future cast was there. Literally the entire Arrow cast was there. Who else?
And that's the big thing about the fan expos, right?
Yeah,
it's more celebrities, right?
Yeah, definitely more celebrities. The whole like Smallville cast was there. And then I swear I went there with our buddy Comic Dunes. I swear that Jeff and I saw Michael Rosenbaum at the Reading Terminal Market when we went to go get food. I swear to God, it was him. And we're like 3 people back, and we're like, Lex. And I don't think he wanted to like turn around, but I swear we saw him.
He's like, God damn it, show up.
Yeah, like during his downtime to go get food. But it is what it is.
Yeah, that's cool though. Had you been to that before, the Philly Fan Expo, or is this your first time?
that was the first time that I went to the Philly Fan Expo. A couple years ago, they had something called the Keystone Comic Con, obviously because Keystone is the Keystone State is Pennsylvania, and it was similar, but of course it was just comics, right?
Mhm.
The main thing was comic books. So, and it's perfect because again, if you know the Philly area, the Reading Terminal Market's a food market. They have like everything in it. It's like a 2 block walk. It's awesome. It's inside. You know, Philly has been just like New York, shit during COVID and a little bit after, a lot of homeless, this and that. But
Yeah.
it's kind of cleaned up a little bit from where we were, which was good. But yeah, a lot of people ran into our buddy Dom Tover. He was on here on the podcast. Juan and Jen, them retro and nerdy on YouTube,
Mhm.
and then just some other people that were just there walking around. So which was really cool. So, but as I'm talking about the celebrities and the signatures, we actually have a community question, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And this community question actually comes from one Milton the Manimal.
Yeah. It
So why
does.
don't you start off
Still a
with
member of the
what's this question?
community.
Yeah,
Still
still
a
member of
member.
the community
Yeah.
somehow. But yeah, let's get into your community question and we'll
Yeah.
kind of go down this rabbit hole.
So, and we were kind of talking about when Justin was telling me about, Philly Fan Expo and stuff. And then I kind of just spoke out loud, like mentioning how I really have no interest personally in getting like actors' signatures on comic books necessarily. And so we started to fall down that conversation of like, and look, when I say when it's appropriate, obviously, if it's appropriate for you, it's appropriate for you, period. So, but the general idea of like, when does it make sense to get like an actor's signature on some kind of comic book memorabilia? And it's kind of a strange question. I don't think I have anything signed by any kind of actors or anything like that. I'm more of a creative guy. Like I want the creative team. That's what appeals to me. Um, Once again, preface this by saying no judgment if that's your thing, if you like the actors and stuff. But then Justin was obviously talking about, you know, Peter Cullen for Optimus Prime and even Katie Sackhoff as like a voice. So I don't know, man. I don't know where I draw the line. I think the Peter Cullen for sure, like that's legit, and I think that would be the same thing as Bruce Conroy for Batman as well. Like some
Kevin
of those
Conroy.
Kevin Conroy, sorry.
Yeah.
Some of those things are so iconic that it's like, okay, like that guy is Batman. That guy is Optimus Prime. You know what I mean? So, but like, for example, Stephen Amell on like a Green Arrow book, I don't think so, dude. That's not really my thing. So I don't even think I would be interested in a Hayden Christensen Darth Vader necessarily. If anything, I'd probably be leaning more towards like a James Earl Jones for Darth Vader. But I don't know, man. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I mean, you've got a couple of these. You do kind of do this, right?
Yeah, I mean, I love getting the yellow labels. So of course, like I said, so the Katie Sackhoff thing was a sketch that Livio did on the blank was a Kanan one, so it's already a pricey book as is because it's the first appearance of all the Rebels characters. Adding the art on there from Livio, adding the signature on there, obviously it just keeps increasing the value in a way, but obviously it's not me doing all this stuff to sell it, right? Jeff and I, Comic Dunes, had this conversation too, like what's appropriate, what's not. So, and he actually had he actually came up with this. It's like, look at it this way. Like John Bernthal was supposed to be there, but he canceled. Zachary Levi was supposed to be there. He canceled. Now, John Bernthal, would you get his signature on an Amazing Spider-Man 129?
No, I don't think I would.
Would you get a Ray Stevenson?
No, I wouldn't get any act. None on that.
None of them. Okay. All right.
Maybe
and
on
I,
like a
and I
Punisher
agree with that.
one or something like a Warzone or like another Punisher book. Not on that book though.
Okay. So what he said and what I also said, and we kind of came up with this idea. I would get a actor or actress, not voice actor or actress, an actor or actress signature on a photo variant, which Marvel does.
Yeah.
So
With their appearance. Yeah.
Yes.
That makes sense.
So like Daredevil, there was a Daredevil issue that had Charlie Cox as Daredevil for the Netflix series. Obviously, yeah, same thing. Like John Bernthal, there is a Punisher variant. Those live action photo variants, those I would get with the actor or actress, because you have to look at it as the character. They played that character many, many years after the comic.
Yeah.
Right. I even said the conversation of like, would you get, Hayden Christensen? Would you get Hayden Christensen on a Star Wars #1 from 1977? No. Like, technically, his first appearance and first cover appearance is Star Wars Episode 2: Attack of the Clones, the photo variant.
Right.
That would be that would be something to get signed. Or do you just find like another, because there have been Star Wars cover variants where he's been dressed as Anakin, and that's what, you could get that.
It opens up so many things quickly on that the Hayden Christensen thing. For one, honestly, until Obi-Wan right now, and I know people will be like, no, in the Revenge of the Sith, but until Obi-Wan, he never played Darth Vader. He was Anakin. So honestly, getting him on a Vader is kind of strange, in my opinion. The other thing to kind of touch on what you're saying is kind of, if you think about it like a multiverse, right? So like you got let's use Marvel for an example. You got the 616, the main Marvel State Universe, right? And then you've got the MCU, which has a designation, which I probably going to be hated on for not remembering what that designation is.
9999.
Something like that, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
Bernthal is not the 616. So why would you get his signature on Frank Castle 616? To me, it's almost along the same lines of like, why would you get, like, if you took Tom Holland, can I get your signature on a Miles Morales book? So in a way, there's that kind of like crossover thing. I do like what you did. I think the other exception would be some kind of like a sketch cover, right? Like that's an appropriate one. Any kind of book that's not that first appearance, I think would be relatively appropriate, I guess, in a way, if you wanted to do it.
I also think voice actors are appropriate. Like, so again, like Peter Cullen on Transformers 1, because the cartoon came out before the comic.
Right.
The same thing on like a Clone Wars one. Like everybody typically gets Ashley Eckstein, Matt Latner, and Jonathan Taylor, who plays Anakin and Obi-Wan, because that's technically the first time that you see those characters as voice actors. I get Ahsoka because, of course, that's Ahsoka's first comic appearance. The comic came out after the movie, so that's why people get that, right?
Yeah.
But again, like I would never get, even same thing. Like I would love a Haley Steinfeld on, like same thing. Haley Steinfeld has now played Kate Bishop and also voices Spider-Gwen. Would I get that? Would I get Haley's signature on anything Hawkeye related? No, because she doesn't have a cover. And Edge of Spider-Verse, there's actually other voice actresses who played her before in the cartoons between Marvel Rising and the Spider-Man animated show. So
yeah, like unless you got like a cover with her version.
Yes, which they've done.
Yeah.
They've done those like those variants they did for the last Spider-Man movie, Into the Spider-Verse. So that's different because it's that version. But I wouldn't just get a random Spider-Gwen variant.
I think another thing that's kind of strange, and obviously this isn't across the board because there's not a lot of characters out there, but let's use obviously Batman as one. There's multiple actors that played that character, right? So that's kind of my other thing is like, yeah, you're getting that guy, like, well, Bernthal, for an example. I mean, he's the fourth iteration of Punisher we've seen in live action. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, who do you get? And Batman, obviously, way different. But, I mean, Robert Downey Jr. But do we really believe in maybe in our lifetimes or not? Will Iron Man ever be recast? Like, it's also a strange thing too to get an actor, in my opinion. Unless, like you said,
I would never waste the money.
Yeah,
I would never waste the money to get the actor or actress on the first appearance of a book.
Oh God, no! You would just ruin the value of that book. In my opinion.
I mean, unless
niche if you want to sell it too, right?
Unless, and let's just go down this rabbit hole, and you have to have a ton of money to do this. If you had like an Amazing Fantasy 15, and you had like Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield,
you got them all,
Tobey Maguire, like that's. I mean, our buddy Skip, he's got that Star Wars Empire Strikes Back magazine format. He's got it signed by the original cast of CGC. He's got it signed by the original cast of all of the Star Wars people, like even Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher. But he also has Ewan McGregor and Hayden on there, which I don't think that does anything.
Yeah.
Yes, it increases in value, but I don't think that was really the book to get it on. That's just my opinion.
So it's
people
also
out there, again, people out there that are listening to this, when we post this on Instagram, let us know or send us a DM or let us know what you think, if it's right or wrong.
What are your thoughts on this? So you brought up Star Wars as a good example too. Like, does it change the idea that Star Wars was live action first, comics came later.
Correct.
So does it lend it more like credibility for like, okay, like these are the live action, like Luke Skywalker, he's first. So if you did get, now I'm kind of second guessing myself. If I think about like a Star Wars 1, would I get Mark Hamill's signature on it? Maybe. I mean, I could be more, I don't think I would do it in general, but like I could be more inclined and to consider it because they were first. It's not the reverse. It's not like Bernthal Punisher situation, right? So like, because I'm big on like I said, the creative team, and technically Mark Hamill is creative team of Luke Skywalker because he's the first iteration. He birthed him. You know, whether he created the character or not, he is the character. So I don't know. I could be convinced on something like that. So
Some things like like that,
it's
I
strange,
think
right?
it's okay. I just think when something comes along like further down the line, it's just
Yeah.
completely different. Like I would never get Tamara Morrison's autograph on like a Star Wars 42, like first Boba Fett, because
Right. He wasn't
know,
the original.
he wasn't
either.
the original one, and like
Yeah. Would you get Robert Downey Jr. on Iron Man 1?
no. There's at least two or three. There's at least two or three, maybe even close to up to 5 variants that they've done for the movie of Iron Man, where he's
Right.
on the cover.
That'd be
And
the one.
typically, you know what that thing is too? Those are the books that people should buy if they find them out in the wild for cheap. Because again, anytime CGC or like these other companies say, "Oh, they're doing like a signing for this book," right?
Mhm.
Those books go up in value. Like I remember I found the Iron Man, one of those Iron Man variants in like a back issue for like $10 or $15, and I sold it for well over $100 because they announced the signing for him. And it's good because those are typically the books that people would go out and get,
Right.
not just like a random Invincible Iron Man #1 from 2017.
Mhm.
You know, like
Or the movie adaptation books.
or the
which they
movie
typically
adaptation,
do.
which
Yeah.
they've done, like X-Men, they've done.
Mhm.
Even I think Punisher. I think there's definitely like a Thomas Jane like
Yeah, I think
Punisher
so.
1 version, and same thing like Andrew Garfield has like a variant cover for his movie like adaptations.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's different versions, and I get that. So
Yeah.
great question there, Zach.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. At the end of the day, man, I mean, obviously, your collection's your collection, your experience is yours. Do what's best for you. That's just kind of our take on the signatures from celebrities. So, moving on, let's get into some comic book news. This article is really cool, and I actually kind of I pre-ordered this book, not fully understanding what was going to happen. But this is from CBR. This is talking about the Mark Miller, right? We said it's not
Yep.
Millar, right? It's
Yep,
Miller.
Mark Miller.
Mark Miller's shared universe coming up. So this is an exclusive Kick-Ass, Nemesis, and more Star and new Mark Miller crossover event artwork. So CBR can exclusively reveal new cover art by Frank Quitely, Jai Lee, and Danny Earls from Mark Miller's upcoming crossover event, Big Game. So the Big Game #1 variant cover comes out and marks the return of Sheldon Sampson from the Utopian, from Jupiter's Legacy. But it also shows Kick-Ass, Hit Girl, and the supervillain Nemesis, all from Mark Miller's works. So there's a big crossover coming up, and it's supposed to pull pretty much everyone from the Mark Miller universe. So we're talking Kick-Ass, Kingsman, Nemesis, the Magic Order, Jupiter's Legacy, all the Miller World franchises in one special event. So it even goes on as to say that Mark Miller's Big Game is a Wanted sequel. So the miniseries serves as a sequel to Wanted, which launched in December 2003 from Miller and artist J.G. Jones. So this is kind of crazy, man. I mean, we all know about the Miller universe. There's never been any kind of like shared universe necessarily between all, and there's no like connections. They don't like reference each other as far as I remember or know. But I don't know what's going to happen.
Super Crooks is the only one
because
that's
because it's part of the Jupiter's Legacy, right?
Yeah.
But this is all like, I mean, if you've read Wanted, you kind of understand Wanted can be almost like an end game situation, right? Where like that's at the end because Wanted takes place after all the villains kill all the superheroes situation there. And so maybe all the Miller world was all before Wanted, and then Wanted's like the final. I don't know. What do you think, dude? Were you excited about this? You going to check this out?
You know, so I don't collect anything Miller does right now. Well, he does the Ambassadors, which I think is a great series, and the last issue just came out. 6 of 6 just came out this week, and I've been reading that. But you know, obviously Jupiter's Legacy, I was big into. Jupiter's Circle and Requiem were great. I collected all those. Like Kick-Ass, I mean, I like the movies. I like the Hit Girl too.
Yeah.
It's something to check out. I definitely think it's something that people maybe should keep an eye on because, you know, let's just say you only collect one of these series, like Kick-Ass is kind of like the more, I would say, more ongoing or more provenant comic, right? Because they've always do like either Hit Girl series or Kick-Ass.
Yeah,
so people kind of know about it.
Recent, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously you're not just going to pick up one, right? You're gonna have to get all of them. So it's interesting, to be honest, because again, you know, you're a big massive verse fan. With with all that. So the fact that Millar's doing all this, I think it's actually a really good idea to have
Yeah.
all of them kind of cross over in this one big event.
So here it goes on to say a little bit more. Miller says, Wanted was about a guy who finds out that superheroes and supervillains were real, and when the supervillains took over the world, they made us forget the heroes ever existed. The sequel, Big Game, is about those same villains watching the heroes reemerge like weeds again and deciding it's time to nip this in the bud. We only remember the original heroes through movies and comic books, and the first of this new wave of heroes to emerge was Kick-Ass. So I think it's cool he's kind of bringing it together, and I do read a lot of Miller World stuff. I've read the Jupiter's Legacy. I read, like you said, Kick-Ass, Hit Girl, all that. I read Nemesis. I'm currently reading all the Magic Order. I love Magic Order, and it's on Magic Order like 4 right now, Series 4. Nightclub, I checked that out as well, which I've enjoyed. Haven't really talked about Nightclub. That's a pretty fun little 5-6 issue series so far. I think the last issue comes out shortly, about if kids became vampires, what would they do, right? And it's kind of like, as you're a kid, you think about, damn, what do I do if I got powers as a vampire? So I thought that was really cool. I'm actually pretty pumped about this. It actually has got me so excited that now I'm thinking about going back and rereading the original Kick-Ass stuff, Kick-Ass and Hit Girl, and revisiting that universe a little bit. But yeah, dude, I mean, I'm all for it. I think Miller World, in terms of like, we've talked about him for Netflix and the comic book market, like they really need to lean heavy into that. They kind of, I don't know what the hell happened. There, something happened with Jupiter's Legacy behind the scenes that we don't know about. And, there was all this talk about Miller World showing up more strongly in Netflix, but we haven't got anything else or any news on anything else. I'm holding up hope we get Magic Order. But who knows? Maybe this will reignite kind of the fire there. So
Yeah, definitely. I hope so. I mean, it's a cool little crossover, and you don't see too much, especially
right.
on Image. Come on.
Yeah, right, dude. So real quick to kind of round this out, it's kind of funny. Like you mentioned the Massiverse, like Image got formed, right, with all these writers and creators kind of being like, hey, we want to break away, do our own thing. And after a little while, they tried to do, it seemed like a little bit of a shared universe. And I'm not super savvy on like the Spawn, Savage Dragon, like the early Image comic stuff. So I don't want to like speak out of turn, but I know they tried for a little while. And now you have Massiverse. And like I spoke last week, Medieval Spawn showing up, and Massiverse is kind of big. And now you have Miller World kind of doing its shared universe. Like I think Image kind of realized, hey man, and look, honestly, the MCU, I feel like, has changed the game, right? Like that kind of set the precedent. This is what people like. People like to see the shared universes. So I think it's cool. Image is kind of coming aboard and doing this as well. And I think it's a strong move. Don't get crazy with it, but like, a little bit here and there. I think it's a really good move. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I agree. So when's it come out? The first,
oh, yeah.
like it's a
July
first
19th, I think. I just closed the article. Damn it. July 19th.
Okay.
So there's the first issue of Big Game. And there's a bunch of covers too. I mean, you can go on DCBS. I think it was in last month's, in the May solicitations or whatever, the pre-order, that you could get them on. A lot of them were like secret covers. They didn't want to reveal anything until that article we just read, it's showing like the Utopian. So
yeah, I think even the article even says that that they don't reveal the main cover yet either, because there's some other still secrets there. So whoever, there is, yeah. I mean, Mark has done a lot of stuff. So
yeah, dude, he's prolific, man. I mean,
yeah, and to give him the ability to let him do this is, speaks volumes.
Right. Hell yeah. So moving on to some Marvel news, we got another Star Wars event coming up. Justin, you want to lead us into this one?
Yeah, so over at marvelcomics.com, we spoke about this briefly because we didn't know too much about it. But Dark Droids. So Jose Maria Casanova's Connecting Dark Droids variant cover has assembled a scourge of army of corrupted droids. So we know about this 6-part series that's going to be coming out in August. It's a Marvel crossover event that kicks off when a new threat is unleashed throughout the galaxy, corrupting droids, cyborgs, and everything in between. The saga will bring horror to the galaxy far, far away as droids and of all allegiances and roles unite for a brand and bold new purpose, causing chaos for the rebellion and the empire alike. So Star Wars Dark Droids will have some tie-in issues. The main series and main storyline will go, of course, through Charles Soule, but of course they're also going to have the Star Wars Darth Vader, Dr. Aphra, Bounty Hunters, as well as Dark Droids D Squad 1 and Dark Droids number 2. So this massive This massive connecting cover probably has over at least 50 droids on it, from
Yeah.
everything from the main guys, R2D2, C3PO, to Dr. Aphra's droids, to some stuff that you've seen in the prequels, the Clone Wars. I
I'm
would even
seeing
say,
some Jedi Fallen Order, like the
yep.
bounty hunter droids that from the Haxian brood right there in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
back.
So you get
Yeah.
some Magna droids. You get like the K2SO, the stupid the droid that delivered Luke and Luke and Leia at the end of Episode 3 is on there. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of stuff in here. Some tactical droids. Definitely check out the cover. It's a big, massive connecting cover, and the editor Mark Pensolini said this is one of the most impressive connecting covers I've ever seen. Jose Maria puts his heart and soul into along these as many hours. I love this collection of droids. Every one of them is someone's favorite, and it's true.
Yeah.
And I definitely think this is going to be an interesting story.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
current storylines for a lot of these, out of the Hidden Empire, a lot of the main titles have actually picked up very well. So, and the fact that it's not like a Sith or Jedi related, right?
hmm
So,
Droids are typically like, supporting characters. So it's kind of fun to see them take the center stage here. Obviously, I think we're going to get a lot of, which I know both you and I are excited about, 000 and BT coming back in and getting more of them. They've kind of been missing for a little while. I think this is cool. Look, we've complained a little bit here and there about like the different mini series or like events that Star Wars does, but I do think their idea and like the way they do them is right. You know what I mean? Like a 4-issue mini as the main arc, and then it kind of crosses over on each title. I think it's strong. I like that they don't go like the typical Marvel route where they'll bring in a ton of one shots or other titles. They keep it nice and tight. And I enjoy that. Whether the event's great or not, whether it peters out or not, but I do enjoy the style of their events. So, but that's cool, man. I'm looking forward to that one. I like the horror fueled crossover, that aspect of it as well. So, we'll see.
yeah,
What
it's kind of
happens.
reminding me of like that episode from Mandalorian, right? Where it was the episode with Jack Black and Lizzo and
Yeah.
Doc Brown, where he kind of like made all the robots go bad. Like that's what immediately like I thought of when I heard this crossover event,
Yeah.
right? Where like all the droids are going bad. Well, that's clearly exactly like what happened in Mandalorian.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So keep a lookout for that. It starts in August 3rd, 2023. If you aren't reading the Star Wars stuff, maybe this is a good jumping on point for you. So check that out. So before we kind of get into, Justin's going to give us a little review here about a movie. But before we get into that, I want to talk about something real quick. So Diablo 4 just came out. Justin and I, you guys know, we're both big gamers. We're going to start playing Diablo. I started. Justin's waiting for it to come. We're going to play, do a little crossover, play together, created a clan. So if you guys are interested in joining the clan, the Comic Com clan, reach out to us for Diablo, join up, and let's get some games going. But I also found a really funny article, which is kind of crazy about it. So this is on CBR, and it says Whoopi Goldberg is pissed off about Diablo 4's lack of Mac release. So first off, when I saw this, I feel like any article I see right now about Whoopi Goldberg is she's pissed off about something. And I remember growing up, dude, I used to think Whoopi Goldberg was the best, right? She was just such a nice person. She has got to be one of the most hateful, angriest people on the planet these days. But this time, apparently Whoopi Goldberg is a massive Diablo fan. Like, this is her favorite game series, Diablo. So she's upset, though, because it doesn't let people play on Apple. So she's reaching out to Apple, telling them to bring it across so that everyone can play, that if people use the Mac iOS, that they can play. But I don't know, that was funny. I was like, I didn't realize that she was such a Diablo fan. But so who knows? Maybe one day Whoopi Goldberg will join the Comic-Com clan and Diablo 4, and you can join and play with the three of us. So
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to play. So what did you choose as your first character? Because for me, again, I haven't got it yet, and we've kind of had this conversation. And
let's explain the thought process here, how we talked about this.
Yeah, so obviously we don't want to choose the same class because obviously that would be stupid. Right. I said I'm either going to go rogue because I love being like sneaky thieves,
kind of jack of all trade kind of guy.
Yeah, the jack of all trades, like the archery, like close combat, quick stuff like that.
Tons of DPS, yeah.
or necromancing, because just being able to summon different creatures
Right.
is badass. And yeah,
Yeah.
I could do sorcerer with the magic, but I think the necromancing is fun because it's almost like you have your own clan of characters. So
Yeah, and so I think we had so the rogue is obviously one of the original from the original game. You had the warrior, rogue, and the sorcerer. And the necromancer I think came in like Diablo 3. I think it was Diablo 3. And then so this one you can do barbarian, rogue, necromancer, sorcerer, or druid. I think are the 5 classes. I don't think I'm missing any.
yeah, I think you're right.
So I was interested. Honestly, the sorcerer hasn't been back since the first game. So I was definitely interested in that. We've had different, they had different versions. I think they had oh gosh, the enchantress or enchanter or something. There was another magic
Mhm.
user in one of the previous games, but this is the first time the sorcerer is back. So I was thinking about that, but then I was kind of reading about how that's somewhat like the easiest class to play as, and that wasn't very appealing to me. But I think I'm still going to check it out. Um, but I started off as the druid, which then unfortunately I read might actually be like the hardest class to master. So I was like, great, great. um, but yeah, I think I'm rocking the druid right now. It's pretty cool. There's you and I'll talk offline about this a little bit more. Like the upgrade and the skill trees are very interesting how it works. And
Mhm.
then, but honestly, the same thing, dude. Say what you will, like the barbarian, the warrior character, it's a barbarian in this game. Also very appealing as well. To actually get the weapons and the swords and stuff like that is really cool. But magic and whatnot, I do like the druid can like change into a werewolf or a werebear, and
Yep.
then he also has magic as well. So it's kind of like a good combination. You can DPS, but you can also tank a little bit. So it's fun, man. I'm enjoying it. It's classic Diablo, but I feel like it doesn't as far, and I'm not very far. I'm only like level 8 right now. I haven't played very much, just past like the prologue issue. And some of the old Diablo games can get a little like, grinding and you're just,
Of course, yeah.
you know what I mean? I haven't found that to be like super annoying yet. So we'll see though. I'm excited for us to clan up and tear it up.
Yeah. Well, hopefully tomorrow I'll have the game and I'll install it, and at some point over the weekend, if I get
Hell yeah.
farther enough, we'll definitely be playing it. So,
Cool.
uh,
So why don't you take us the final little topic of the day here?
yeah. So this is going to be a spoiler-free review of Transformers: Rise of the Beast. Of course, you're listening to this on Friday. We're recording this on Thursday, but I actually got to go see an advanced early access at some theaters had for Wednesday night. It's funny. I already had my tickets set for Thursday night, and then all of a sudden I was like
Yeah, you
looking for
changed on me. Yeah.
yeah, and I was looking for tickets for next week's for Flash, and then all of a sudden it said, "Oh, advance Wednesday night of Transformers." I was like, one showing. I was like, "Hell yeah!" I was like, "I'm gonna go one one day extra, so I don't have to worry about again spoilers because that's all there is."
Yeah.
But so Transformers: Rise of the Beast, the sequel to Bumblebee, the 7th movie iteration of the Transformers live action. So spoiler free. Zach kind of asked me, what did I think about it, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of hesitated,
Which was
and
telling.
yeah, which definitely was telling. So there's a lot of great things in the movie. There's a lot of bad things. Now let's talk about this. Transformers came from a cartoon and a comic book, and is now live action. People
Mhm.
would say the same thing, that well, like all these MCU movies have come from the same world, right? Like they came from comics and then cartoons and live action. They're amazing. Transformers has always been like, I don't really know. Would I say it's the worst one? No. Would I say it's the best one? No. I still think for me, the Transformers #1 still hits home for me, just because of the fact that it was the first time that you saw
Right.
like Optimus Prime and these Transformers transform in live action.
Mhm.
Dark of the Moon is still definitely up there for me. I think it's one of the best storylines because it's very close out of the cartoon
That's the
season
third one?
1. Yeah,
Okay.
with Sentinel Prime.
Yeah.
Other than that, the characters, some of the robots are cool. Like the people that play them, of course, Optimus Primal is voiced by Ron Perlman. So I mean, we all know Ron Perlman from the Hellboy and live action stuff. Someone who I tried to stay away. This was like the best thing, is like I literally stayed away from so many clips, so much stuff, like who's playing who.
Mhm.
But Air Razor from the Beast Wars is actually voiced by Michelle Yeoh, who of course is in Shang-Chi. She was in that Everything and
Yeah.
that other movie with the crazy, that won like a ton of Oscars or whatever.
Crouching
She's
Tiger.
she's great. Like she, as a voice actress, like she was awesome. Of course, Peter Cullen, the final performance, live action for him. From what I've heard, is this is it for him. Chick who plays RC is cool, but then there's like they get into, and I feel like this is the first time that they've really ever done this. Like they kind of get into like Wheeljack is a cool character from the old school
Oh yeah,
Transformers.
hell yeah.
I don't like his voice actor. He's like they made him be like ethnical because they also have like an ethnic character in there with Anthony Ramos as Noah.
Mhm.
Like, and they have like a conversation. They try to do like this like Spanish thing, and he's like, "Oh, how do you have this accent if you're like a Transformer robot? Like, why is that?" And it's just like weird.
Yeah.
But of course, the worst, and I had this conversation with our friend Sade. She saw it. She got to go to the premiere. I go, "How was Mirage?" Because Mirage is voiced by Pete Davidson.
Yeah. Okay.
And she's like,
And I
"Oh,
love
he's
Mirage too as a character.
yes." And she goes, "Oh, he's so great. He has so many great lines." And like, not to say for Sade, because yeah, she's if you like Pete Davidson, if you like the comedy, that's fine. But I absolutely hated Mirage. Okay, like
Justin hates comedy.
I hate comedy. No, I just hate Pete Davidson. Like I think
Okay.
I think if it was somebody else, it'd be fine. But that's on the characters, whatever. In
Yeah.
general, I think the movie has its highs, it has its lows. Of course, there's a lot of action, which is what all Transformers fans want to see. We just want to
Right.
see transforming robots. We don't care.
Yeah.
We
the
don't care
humans.
about the human role.
Yeah.
They really lean heavily on the two characters, Noah and I'm trying to think of the other girl's name who I just can't even think of. Alina or Elena. They too much. There's too much on like their backstories. Like
Mhm.
Noah's brother is like sick and like he has to go to the hospital, and like there's too much on that. And then Elaine is like this intern at like an archaeology thing, and she's not getting paid, and like she's got this white boss, and like I feel like they lean too much on like that, like really like, oh, their lives are so terrible, so let's kind of like throw them in the mix. Like nobody ever cares about what's going on in the human world, right? Like
Mhm.
I feel more like when someone dies, when a robot dies in the Transformers world, you're always like, oh my God, like it matters, right? We all care. Like the humans, I'm like, whatever. I do like that for like they actually take this away from like the first like probably I guess what like 6 movies, and even obviously the last one, Bumblebee, is like Mirage is actually more of like the main character in this, which I did like because like he's normally not, you wouldn't think like, oh well, here we go, we're gonna get Bumblebee again, right? Like 'cause
Right.
Bumblebee's back, it's his sequel basically. um I think that it was glad to see Mirage, take up the man in a way, like take up the mantle of like the main character. So that was cool. I hated Pete Davidson. Hated. So I'd say go out and see it. Peter Dinklage as Scourge was cool. The action is just fantastic. And the transformations are badass. I mean, it was so cool to see again, like the first time seeing the Beast Wars characters transform. Like you haven't seen that since the 90s. So like to see them in live action and to be so huge, like is really cool too. So yeah, so that's kind of like the spoiler review. I'm not gonna really go deep diving in like what happens, but as far as like things here and there, it's probably somewhere in my top 5 of them, but I definitely don't know if I'd like be like, oh man, it was like absolutely amazing. And I was really hoping it would be just as good as Bumblebee. And I know you recently just saw Bumblebee, right? And you had some questions.
Just last, I think just 2 nights ago, I finished it. Yeah, I know. It
4
was
years
one
ago.
of those movies that fell in like that black hole of mine that I just never got to see. But and I kind of was, I was going to talk about that a little bit. Like Bumblebee, man, there were so many great parts about Bumblebee, but then there were so many parts that like, and just kind of like what you just said, that was I didn't care. Like the teen angst about like the Bumblebee movie with like Haley Steinfeld and like the kid who lives next door, and even like Bumblebee being like this like goofy, like because he doesn't have his memory and he's like a puppy. I thought that was stupid, dude.
Oh, and he still doesn't have his voice, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that I don't know why like they think that's like
Yeah,
cute
dude.
that he still uses like
The
movies and
radio.
like radio to talk
It's
because
dumb.
and of course it's in the 90s, so like everything is like, and that's another thing. I guess like you really have to know some of these movies like when
Right.
he talks.
Yeah, it could be
He
like
does like
dated
a
now at this point, right?
yeah, like that's what it is. Like he does oh God, what's the movie with Jack Nicholson where he's like in court and
A Few Good Men.
yeah. He's like, oh, you can't handle the truth, and I feel like kids wouldn't get that. Like I guess
It's a great movie though, kids. If you're listening, you should watch that movie.
But that's what it is. Like I don't know if they get that. They just get like what he
Yeah.
says.
I will tell you some of the things I loved about Bumblebee. Obviously, like everyone says, that opening scene, the Cybertron battle. I don't really think people realize that's the Transformers movie people want. That's the one they want. That was really good. I liked one of the other things I really liked about Bumblebee, which kind of like the same thing with what you're talking about, is about like Mirage kind of getting a more like a larger imprint in the movie. Is I like how the villains in Bumblebee were, you know, not super well known. You had what, Shatter and Dropkick, and they were like the main villains. And these are
Mhm,
Decepticons that like it's not Starscream, it's not Soundwave, Shockwave,
mhm.
Megatron. It's none of your big ones, right? But I thought that was cool. And I think that also is one of the biggest problems about the Transformers movies, which is kind of, and I'm going to kind of challenge you. One of the things you said though is one of the biggest problems about the Transformers movies, you don't care about anyone except Optimus and Bumblebee. These characters do die. Like even in Bumblebee at the beginning, when big names like characters are dying in the movie, I never care because I'm like, well, that sucks. The only reason I care is like, well, I don't know anything about that character, but I do know him from the cartoon. He has a badass story, but you didn't share that with me. So in terms of the movies, that guy's gone now. You know, I'm
Mhm.
like in the first one, I remember they killed Jazz in the first one. I was like, well,
Yep.
that really sucks, dude. Like, you didn't really give him anything. Like,
Yeah.
no one gets any character development in these movies except for Megatron, Bumblebee, and Optimus. Even Starscream had like shit character development for the most part. Um, I don't know, dude. I want more from the characters. It's the same problem like I've talked about with the X-Men movie, you know, where it focuses Magneto, Xavier, Wolverine. Like,
Mhm.
come on, man, move past it. Get us something else. So I'm excited to see it just from the basis that you said, like Mirage gets a little bit more gameplay.
Yeah, I
But
even
we
think like RC is a cool character. Like she
RC's
at
a
least
great
has
character.
even
Yeah.
like the Maximals in general like have like a good storyline. Like
Mhm.
there's a lot. There's not just it's not like just they just show up. There is a good meat to their story arc. So
Yeah.
and you do actually find out throughout from watching the movie. Um, and there's only three main bad guys. Obviously, they're not the Decepticons. They're called the Terracons. Scourge is one of them. Nightbird is another one, and Nightbird is from the cartoon. He was kind of created for the with like by GI Joe. I think it was that episode. It was
Mhm.
like a ninja. So there's that. Obviously, Unicron's in there, and then there's um, another Decepticon who I can't think of his name, but I don't think he's even like like a real Transformer name. Like they always have like sometimes they just randomly just call people names.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like I remember like in now we're gonna go off on an awesome tangent of Transformers because I love this. Like in Dark of the Moon, when Sentinel Prime, and now if you people have never seen these movies, you're terrible. It's spoiler for now. But like when Sentinel Prime turns and there's that big twist where he's
Yeah.
revealed to be a bad guy and he kills like Ironhide. Like I was
Oh,
like,
that was huge.
oh damn, like because Ironhide was in the first two movies and
And
like
he had actually got some development as well.
mhm,
Like he had a little bit more character development with him.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it is like I felt like when Ironhide died, I'm like, oh damn, like we're actually gonna get some pretty good deaths. And even like the first one, like because you'd think like, okay, yeah, like you said, like Jazz dies in the first one. You just didn't think that you'd see deaths of Transformers, especially in this first movie. You'd think there'd be
Right.
like a gathering of Transformers, Autobots, Decepticons, and they build it up, and then maybe in like the second one they start killing people.
Mhm.
Because even in like the second one, who do we really get that dies? Like what's his
The
name?
second one was the one in like in Egypt, right? That one was
Yeah,
weird.
yeah,
That one was
yeah.
weird.
The only really one that would died was,
The old guy,
big
right?
yeah, the old ship, like, he's
Yeah.
pretty much it.
Who was a
But yeah,
Decepticon
Bumblebee
at one point. Yeah.
yeah, like, Bumblebee, you get, Cliff Jumper dies in the beginning, they kill him.
Yeah, dude. That's huge.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
they
he's like
killed
a
I
big
was like
main.
damn, you just iced Cliff Jumper. Like these, you haven't even mentioned this guy in any Transformers movies. And he gets like a 5-minute scene. It was a great scene. And I was like,
Yeah,
hell yeah, Cliff Jumper. And when he's like, I'm Cliff Jumper, like blah blah blah. And they're like, I was like, whoa, shit, okay. That
yeah.
sucks.
Even in the beginning of Bumblebee with Blitzwing, like, the first
Blitzwing as well, yeah,
Decepticon.
as
Yeah,
one of
like,
the
the first one that
Seekers,
comes
yeah.
down.
And so that's
Um
the other thing. They never talk about the Seekers. Like that's such a cool little designation for like the Decepticons.
mhm.
Um, like Soundwave and Shockwave, when they even introduce them in the movies, like they don't get any like backstory really or anything cool about them necessarily. Like they're just, I don't know.
Yeah,
There's
they
no
they
character
definitely screwed the
development.
pooch on, like, Shockwave, the Dinobots. They
Yeah.
gave them, like, a little weird Bayverse, Michael Bayverse storyline. I will say the one thing that is kind of reminiscent to like the Transformers like animated cartoons is that Scourge. He's pretty cool. He's almost like a Predator, or there's even like another character I just can't think of, but like, oh, he's kind of like a General Grievous. Like when he kills like Autobots, or I should just say Transformers in general, he takes their emblems. So
Okay.
like he kills one, I'm not gonna say who, but he kills one and he takes their emblem and he puts it on his shoulder, and you see a good shot of like his shoulder, and it's like Autobots, Decepticons. You see the Predacons like from the '90s cartoon, like, and you see like two other symbols, and it was fast. I couldn't think of what they are, but it's cool how he's got like their symbols. So he's kind of like General Grievous, like he takes their like
Easter
their
eggs,
lightsabers, yeah. And then Scourge is kind of like, if you watch the Transformers animated movie, he's kind of like Galvatron. Like he's literally like this dark, like servant for Unicron. Like he literally, same thing like when Galvatron disobeys Unicron, like he hurts him, right? And it's the same thing, like Unicron from afar can hurt Scourge because if he doesn't do something right or do his bidding. So cool nod to like old school stuff, but I don't know how the movie's going to do with obviously Spider-Man out right now, and maybe people are waiting for Flash, but
it's sandwiched in a bad slot, to be honest, kind of. But maybe not.
I'm going to go see it again.
Oh yeah, I gotta try to find a way to get out of the house and go see it at some point. I did see, it had me like, just watching Bumblebee and then talking about it has me itching to watch the old animated series, and you can actually get it on Tubi as like for your smart TV. They have all the original animated like for free, and G.I. Joe for free, and like all that stuff. So I think I'll be doing once I finish. I'm watching Gargoyles right now. Once I finish Gargoyles, I'll be doing that. So, but anyway, cool. Spoiler-free review from Nemesis Prime about the Transformers. So we're better to get a review than the master of the Transformers universe.
I could do like a 45-minute show on that. That's why I figured we just do a quick, maybe 15, 20.
Yeah.
I could just literally talk Transformers all day of all the movies.
No, we should do it sometime, because I'm not as, I mean, I'm a big Transformers fan, but like not as diehard as you. That's like that's your title, or your like what's the word?
My go-to.
Your go-to, yeah.
Yeah. It's something that's like, again, like I said, like Transformers 1 is still always going to be like my favorite one, because just
Linkin Park.
Just the first time, like when you see Optimus transform, is just like, it gives you chills, because it's like you've seen that in like the cartoons forever and all different types of video games and everything. Then all of a sudden you're like, oh damn. Like even in this one, it's because it's set in the 90s, and like Mirage doesn't look like Mirage. Mirage looks like Jazz, because he's a Porsche instead of a but like it's the like G1 truck, right? And he actually transforms, like the way he transforms is exactly like he would transform in the cartoon. So it's cool.
That ending scene in Transformers 1, when Optimus is sending the message out, that shit gives you chills. Like I feel like every time I watch that movie, then he's like, this message to all the Autobots, it's like, damn, dude, like it's, and then Linkin Park hits hard right in the background, like, come on, man, that shit's the best. So, but anyway, let's wrap this up like we do every week with what we are currently reading. If you're new to the channel, the podcast here, this is something we do every week, where we talk about books, new, current, old stuff that we're reading right now that we want to pass along to you and let you know you should check out. So, Justin, I know you didn't read last week, so you probably got some backlog of stuff. What do you got this week?
I'm actually just going to talk about this week's books, but I did read a lot from last week, just catching up over literally the past 2 weeks. But got to start off with some hot garbage.
Ooh,
and again, not every crossover is good. And I know we talked about this, but the Street Fighter TMNT crossover.
You checked it out. Okay, interesting.
It was terrible. Like, it's cool. All right, so it's cool that it's Street Fighter and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's a terrible issue. All they do is fight. There's really not even a story buildup. They're literally somehow in some tournament, like Guile's fighting Raph, which we probably knew that was going to happen. And then later on, like Michelangelo fights Chun-Li, and that's literally the entire issue. And like Bison's in the background somewhere. That's all it is. Like there's no storyline of like how they're fighting, why they're fighting in these tournaments. No buildup at all. It's just so stupid. It really was. And again, we talked about this before. I was hoping for it to be good, but not every crossover can do well, I guess. So.
Yeah. Interesting. I wasn't going to read it anyway, so it's nice to get a
So I'm glad I didn't, go crazy buying a ton of like variants for it either. So that's kind of my hot garbage. Some honorable mentions, a big list of Star Wars stuff this week. Star Wars Yoda number 8, second part with the Clone Wars era Yoda and Anakin fighting on a desolate planet with some battle droids has been really awesome. The the one shot with Star Wars, the Empire, like
Yeah,
Return of the Empire, was a really good, interesting
it
storyline.
was
It's the
pretty
first time
cool.
that
Yeah.
we're away from anybody like Empire, like Darth Vader. We're away from Luke, the Rebels. Like it was very interesting
Had
about
Andor
this.
vibes, right?
Yes, very Andor vibes. Obviously,
Yeah.
bringing forth the second Death Star. It's about this tech guy who goes to work on the Endor moon, and obviously he's kind of like trying to do things. He's trying to work far away from home for this company that his parents own to do whatever. Obviously, this like interlinking database. Obviously, and eventually he finds out about the Death Star, and after his job is finally finished, you think he's going to leave, but of course that's not what's going to happen. And you also get to see the Ewoks too briefly.
I like how it's like he did his and there's even a line in there like he did his job too well and he got punished for it. He's
Yeah,
like because he
exactly.
he tries to be like an overachiever. He's like, well, I could probably make this system better. And by doing
Mhm.
so, he cracks into like the Death Star, and they're like, no, dude, like, hell no.
Yeah. And then to round out Star Wars, of course, Star Wars 35, which is had very good
Awesome.
lore, adds a
Yeah.
lot of lore to Star Wars in general. So you get like the first full appearance of Dr. Kulata. You have Greta from the last issue, first full, or I guess second appearance, whatever you want to go. And obviously Luke's trying to rebuild his lightsaber. He gives it to this doctor. He's given a red kyber crystal, and
Mhm.
then you find out that inside these kyber crystals there's actually souls, and obviously they go into the whole process of bleeding crystals, which is interesting. He's given a pure like white crystal, and he learns how to just basically purify it, and that basically becomes his green one going forward that we get to see in like Return of the Jedi. So
Yeah, that was
interesting
awesome.
storyline. I mean, the whole idea with him like going inside the red one and just seeing all these like Sith characters
Yeah. Oh, I like
was
the idea that you can like once the kyber crystal's been bled, that he can almost fix it. Like he can unbleed it as well, and like cure it. And I hope they explore that some more. Obviously it didn't really happen, but that Dr. Quada was like, hey, I need you to try to see if you can fix this, if you can undo the damage of the kyber crystal, which I thought was really cool.
Well, that's actually been done before. That's how in the Ahsoka novel, she beats an Inquisitor and she unbleeds it, whatever you want to call it, and
Oh,
that's
okay.
how then she gets her new lightsabers. Because
Oh,
obviously
I
at the
never
end,
read Ahsoka.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So here we go down the Star Wars rabbit hole of how much I know of Ahsoka. So obviously, then the Clone Wars, she leaves her lightsabers on that planet.
Yeah.
Vader finds them, but obviously, then when you see Ahsoka in Rebels, she's got these new white, longer lightsabers.
Mhm.
So in the Ahsoka novel, she fights a Inquisitor on one of the planets she's living on, and then takes the crystals and bleeds them back to like the light side, and she
Does
creates lightsabers again.
does it follow the same kind of explanation Quada gave this guy? Gave
Yeah,
Luke?
for the most part,
Okay.
yeah,
I think that's cool. Now I'm like really interested. Like, okay, well, what's gonna happen to that red kyber crystal he has? You know what I mean? Like, because he
yeah,
keeps it
because the
moving
front cover
forward.
has him have the two lightsabers.
And he takes it with him. He says, hey, I'm taking the green
Hmm.
one, and I'm taking the yellow one, and I'm taking the red one.
Yeah,
So he takes all
so
of them with him. Like, what ends up happening to that? Is that
yeah, he.
potentially like Ben Solo's? Does he unbleed it and that becomes
Mm,
one of his guys' lightsabers down the road? Like, I don't know. That's very interesting.
yeah, I don't know, but I do like the lore,
Yeah, it
and
was super
of course,
cool.
it's always expansion, especially and again Charles Soule writing it. It's perfect. So, um, just some honorable mentions, but pick of the week, and you're going to be impressed with my pick of the week.
I actually thought this was going to be your pick of the week. That's why
Oh
I wasn't
no.
going to talk about it.
Oh no. Daredevil number 12.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah,
Dude.
I was going to say,
Daredevil number 12. Really
hell yeah.
awesome issue. It's got of course it's got Blind Spot, and Blind Spot's in like this world, not this world, but he's kind of protecting this area for the world of hell, right? Like that's
One
what
of
he's
the
supposed to.
realms of hell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what are the realms of hell? Daredevil comes, he tells him, he's like, he's like, you can leave. He's like, I'll stay here until that time comes, which is pretty awesome. But of course, the whole point of him trying to kick Blind Spot out is because Daredevil wants to kill himself and go to the world of hell because, of course, there's some of his friends that are in hell and he wants to try to get them back. But the whole idea, and then all of a sudden, Elektra shows up and they have a fight, which is pretty awesome because they have those panels. Obviously,
Mhm.
you've read it.
Yeah,
So
dude.
there's those panels
Yeah.
where you get to see many times that Daredevil and her have fought in different costumes.
Yeah, the costumes are the best, dude.
Yeah.
The old school 90s black one. Oh, dude,
God, yes. The whole
so
what was
good.
it? God, what was that storyline? Before Shadowlands, the Fall from Grace,
Oh, yeah,
that red and black one,
Yeah,
which is
the red
pretty
and black one's
badass.
great, yeah.
I love that. That was always my favorite costume. Yeah, basically they fight each other, and lo and behold, he ends up going down to hell. Not going to spoil too much, but obviously he ends up somehow getting down to hell, and now he's like, people are quoting like that he's like the hand of God now. Like,
New
don't fall
suit.
down that spec. Yeah, don't
Totally new
fall down
suit,
that spec, people. Like,
yeah.
I saw some people like post it on Instagram, and I'm just like, oh, come on, people. But yeah, man, pick of the week. That Daredevil issue was bad ass.
Yeah, this run's been great, man. And I think it ends in issue 14. That was 12. And then
Yeah.
kind of sad because I already saw solicitations, I think, on DCBS for the new ongoing Daredevil. And so it's
Oh,
no
I
longer
didn't
going to be, I don't think it's Zdarsky anymore, which is kind of a bummer because he's really been crushing it. But
Hmm.
yeah, dude, I really like that issue. That was going to be one of my honorable mentions for sure.
Well,
So,
what do you got then?
so now you told me hot garbage, and now I'm trying to think if there was any hot garbage this week that I didn't care for too much. The week was pretty good, to be honest. The Dark Knights of Steel, like we already kind of complained about that, like what?
Oh
Last
yeah,
week
I
a
read
little
that
bit.
too. Yeah.
I mean, whatever. I just want it to be done at this point. It wasn't a bad issue. I just want it to be done.
I forgot a lot.
I did
just,
too. Yeah, I barely, but like honestly, I didn't really care either anymore.
well, yeah. I mean, I know it means nothing.
Surprise, Amanda Waller, like surprise. Like, who didn't see that? It's so stupid. Anyway, that's kind of maybe hot garbage esque. And then my honorable mentions, I'll replace my Daredevil with. I like the Batman issue this week. I thought that was really cool. Batman's got some changes coming his way, man, and I think it's very interesting how Zdarsky's writing him and like the way he's treating Batman and his mental health and this like separation of Bruce and Batman, and you got Zura and R.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's crazy. I think we're going to see some really wild stuff with Batman moving forward, and it's kind of setting up what we talked about last week as well, like the little war between Catwoman and Batman and the Bat family. That kind of seemed like we were getting a little bit there with it in this issue.
I'm wondering if this whole thing with like Chip doing the 3 Batman-esque, like with Zara Earth, kind of falls into like the Night Terrors, like over the summer.
You think maybe they'll be connected?
Yeah, a little, maybe, like obviously because Zara Earth Batman is like a, kind of like a evil version in a way, but I feel like they're all it's completely different because I know like that's introducing like a brand new villain.
I wonder how much, it will be connected because obviously Batman's missing a hand now. He's like Luke Skywalker right now. So, are we going to see that in like Night Terrors? Is that going to be an ongoing type thing with Batman having a robot hand or whatever? But, so yeah, no, that was cool. I like that issue. My other honorable mention was an X-Men one shot. It's called Before the Fall, X-Men First, or Before the Fall, Mutant First Strike. So we talked about the fall of X-Men coming up here soon, Fall of X. So they've been doing a couple little one shots. This one was really, really cool. I loved how it brought in like mutants from all across the board. And I think honestly, one of the best things about the Hickman era is just the advancement of powers. Like no longer do you just have like Iceman using ice powers to freeze people. Like they're really getting intelligent with the mutant powers and things you can do with it. And honestly, it's really telling to show like in this issue, they kind of come in for like a natural disaster type situation and they're helping a community, and the way they use their powers to like feed and heal and stuff like that is really, really awesome. And I really enjoyed this issue. I'm excited for the Fall of X, excited and scared at the same time, but really cool stuff going on there. But my pick of the week this week is I'm really enjoying this. I think you're reading it. Local Man #4.
Yes.
I'm really enjoying Local Man, dude. I think it's a lot of fun. And I like how it's like the reverse. So you get like the modern day story of him. And then there's a couple pages of like the past and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely has very like funny. We were just talking about Jupiter's Legacy vibes to it a little bit in terms of like the fall of a hero and like the boys as well. Cause these are like nationally like teams. Everyone knows these teams, almost like sports teams. And it's definitely got boys vibes to it as well. I'm really liking Local Man a lot. If you guys are looking for something new, something a little different, you should check it out over at Image Comics. And what Tony Fleeks and Tim Seeley, right? Yeah. Yeah, you like that too? You're reading it too, right?
Yeah, I read the first two. I definitely fell off on three, and I know four obviously just came out, but I thought it was great. I thought the
Yeah.
first two issues were definitely interesting because again, it's like you said, like Jupiter's Legacy. It's like realistic
Mhm.
superhero world, right? It's
Right.
not like craziness that obviously like Marvel or DC is. So the fact that yeah, like the whole part is like the main storyline kind of takes place after he was been a hero, and then when you flip it, the backstory is like when he was with this team. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things he can't do because he was under contract, and yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's wild. It's definitely like it's like The Boys, you know, like if
yep,
you read The Boys comics, not so much the show, but you read The Boys, it's very much like that. That he like signed up with a team and he was on like a minor league team at one point too. Like, um, it's really cool, and I love the like when you flip it, it's like straight '90s like artwork when he's
hmm
like the character Camo Crusader basically looks like Cable. It's just awesome, dude. Really, really good story. 4 issues in. Definitely check it out if you guys get a chance. I'm enjoying Local Man a lot. So, but that's it. That's all we got this week for episode 23 in the books. Like Justin said last week, there was a Spider Verse. If you didn't check it out, check out his review with Black Crown, right?
yep.
So check that out. Check out the review they just dropped on that. Next week's The Flash. I got tickets for Thursday. You got tickets for Thursday, right?
I got tickets for Thursday.
So we'll be seeing that. We'll probably be recording Wednesday, and we'll do a review of The Flash. What else? You got anything sales coming up here soon? Anything
You
big?
know, I'm always doing whatnot sales. I think this weekend I'm trying to do like a marathon of Star Wars.
Okay.
So trying to go as long as I can. I got like tons of. I literally have like 5 or 6 short boxes of Star Wars stuff that I just need to move and just unorganized. I don't even know. It's just so much stuff, to be honest. I've been buying so much stuff. I just need to move it. So that's kind of that's where I'll be at. And then I don't really know. There's I don't think there's any cons coming up. Yeah, not until like the end of the month. I'll be at Morristown Garden State Comic Fest here in New Jersey, and then of course Terrificon next month that we always talk about. And we'll be
Yeah.
back to having guests once we get through all these movies because it's always tough to
Yeah.
schedule people with all the
Our
movies that are
schedules,
coming
right.
out. So we have
Yeah.
some upcoming guests already scheduled in on deck, I should say.
Cool. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We will see you next week. You know where you can find us if you want to chat, drop some community questions, and